Gina, did you move Gina to this
Gina on
side?
the other side.
Okay.
So you're
I'm
actually
right in there. Oh, right here? Okay.
Yeah.
And Russell, you were right.
Yeah. Mayor's probably gonna say he don't like it.
Hey, Brian.
How are you? It's on. Let's do it with you. Just so you don't get your duty belt hung up. We got that new weather station.
Better get that down.
Got a new, little console, counter,
It is what it is.
in direction and speed, all that good stuff.
We all. I like tables. Like a reclining lounge chair. What are we getting planned for the new council chambers?
I tell you what, in 15 years when that thing is built, I'll come to a council meeting and see.
Find the right one, it's got to show a little picture, or it go up or down.
I didn't think I'd ever see it. I'm hoping.
Hey, Russell.
Hey, Will, how you doing? Good.
Right, we've been working on computers.
Hey, Richard.
2042.
I hope not. Well, one of these days I've saved up enough money to retire.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the state's gonna steal all my other money.
Oh, here, those two.
They still mind I'm all right. I'm good for now, so I'm
You should
just-
spend
real quick.
that time.
Well, see,
Springfield or Chicago, wherever he has that time.
Oh, you made it. Oh,
Track him down.
yeah.
they keep trying
Whoever
to
it is.
pull all the money in one big pot, so they can steal out of it.
No, it ain't gonna be all one. I want what I put in.
One big pop, but state.
But is it 501 on the, it's in court action now, right? So that would have been pending also. So if we can get it for half.
These damn chairs, Russell. I swear to
Gotta get rid of them.
It's got more shit on it than a space shuttle.
Teachers, they keep trying to pull all the stuff.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Gary. How you been?
I had that, I told John, agenda law, put on his agenda, or put on that minute.
Yes.
For those Mexican people, I think they own them already,
Right.
but they're mowing them, keeping that clean,
Are you?
and we ain't gonna be able to sell them to anybody.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought, I think they got a lot of money.
No. And
They bought the old Jordan house,
Well, hell, it'll get it on the tax roll, and
I didn't even try. I was trying to picture where that's the 4th and Division. Is that that?
it's down there south of Zion Church.
Okay. I was trying to picture where that would be.
Well, they bought the old, said they bought the old church ground down there too.
The one that got tore down.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they went on down into that curve.
Yeah.
And they nobody wants to buy that lot. And ready mowing and keep it clean.
Yeah.
Seemed like a real nice family.
Yeah, they tried to sell them to me years ago for $10 a lot.
Uh-huh.
You want that?
I said, I don't want them, I know what grows down.
We
You
got
guys
a
talking
bunch
about
of-
these lots down here?
Yeah,
The one thing we wanna make sure of is that they don't build on it.
because it's a
It
floodplain.
floods, and we've tried real hard to get rid of all our properties that have structures that flood.
Right.
And we got these right here, so if we do turn them over, we will put a covenant on it.
They don't flood down over the end. They flood over the hill, but not up on the hill.
Yeah, they do.
They're right behind the Jordan house.
You get up to the Jordan's house.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't get up towards their house or anywhere.
Well,
Up in the yard.
I think these lots probably get water on them, so we want to make
Yeah,
sure we got a covenant that they don't build
So,
on them.
does there a cost to us, if, like a FEMA cost to us, if there's flood?
It would be all the work in, if somebody wants sandbags and having to relocate somebody, if, let's say they pull a trailer in there,
Right.
and the river comes up, then they're gonna want sandbags to sandbag their house. and-
They're down there where that old church was, and I don't
Right.
think it water ever got up that church, did it?
I don't know.
Usually the lower road gets under, but the higher road is. Yeah, that's a house there, and these are the lots down this way.
The federal government has done an effective job of
Yeah, this
It's
road.
right
making
down
flood
there.
insurance so expensive that you can't build in new floodplains anyway. you know?
Right.
They've already bought.
Well,
I had a customer down in McClure. It was really East
yeah.
Cape, and
Now, the lower road floods every year.
he let his insurance, flood insurance lapse, so he had to get it requoted, and it was $740 a month per property for flood insurance.
Eric was
Thanks,
working
Curtis.
with them, and he
Thank
got
you.
me involved. I went down and met with a lady. He works till about 6 o'clock. They got kids from about 22 or 23 down the grade school right there.
Yeah.
For her father. That's that girl, she was in high school. She said, oh no, her mom said she's 23. I can't tell.
well, Lord, I was interviewing these kids. I tell you, the older you get, the harder to tell how old anybody is. I was interviewing this kid who's the other day up at the radio station that's on the trap team, and we got to the point in the interview, you know, this again next year, because I assumed he was a senior in high school. He said, well, yeah, I plan on it. He goes, I'll be a freshman next year. I said, well, you look like you're about 35. And he said, yeah, I get that a lot. I thought, you're the kind of kid I need to go in and buy alcohol on stage, you know?
Well, this,
Hell, I'd sell you anything you wanted.
that kid they had on the football team walked across the lot out there. Hell, he looked like a college kid.
Yeah.
Big, husky.
Uh-huh. Oh, well.
I think they're supposed to get our stuff down to the sewer plant Thursday and Friday.
Oh, the,
Get that sand out.
yeah.
Then we're
I met with
gonna-
Pat today. He was saying that.
And then we're gonna look for a different way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We got that one up and running, and then we'll check the other one and check them as we go, but sometimes they got big backs.
I wonder if Chester's had that problem, because they got the same plant we got.
They redo theirs every year.
Okay,
They got a maintenance,
Yeah.
which we never had that program down there.
okay,
But we're gonna have to, we're gonna adopt one to get that started.
yeah.
Bill and Danny never did get one down there.
Mm-hmm.
I told Pat, well, we're gonna have to start every year because the big tanks where that stuff comes in first. And I said, if, it's not coming into the paving, Jim or somebody's crew gonna have to go down that river
Right.
and pop the manhole. If this one's full of sand and this one ain't, then it's somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that's 28, 30 foot deep. I remember when we put it in, it's been there long ago.
You're talking about the mains or the tanks?
The mains.
Yeah.
30 inches down there, 30 or 36 down by the sewer plant, there was steps down.
Yeah.
And there was an 18 inch when we put that road in.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that behind where Judge used to live.
Okay.
We got into a big hornet's nest over there. And brother,
An actual hornet's nest?
yeah,
Oh, shit.
ground hornet, and Billy said, we gotta get rid of them.
Yeah.
I walked over.
said, give me
about
your
2
notebook,
gallons of
but
gas,
I'm not very
threw
good
on
at
that
taking
bus, put a match in there. He said, I didn't mean that way.
I'll just record it on here and we'll write it.
Are you here to complain about my home? I said you walk in, I thought, uh-oh. That guy just bought my old house coming to the city council meeting. Okay, all right.
Shirley had both.
Somebody's taller than me.
Shirley had both adults and kids.
Right.
All the help from.
What's that?
Little man.
Oh my goodness.
Surely we can move
Right
it.
here it
We'll
is.
be to you
Right
quickly.
here it is. Okay.
I can,
Is that what the liquor,
yeah,
what is the modification?
Yeah, it makes a difference.
18 for
Instead of
waitresses, waiters. It's what the state
We're at 21.
won, and they can't find any help,
Right.
and it's just, here. Oh, Gina.
That thing I have on the agenda on that sidewalk, you haven't looked.
Down there where the,
It's over.
You hadn't been
Oh,
sitting on the
Over
dirt.
at Donna Cephas's. I didn't want to put his name in there, but
yeah,
This amendment would make a person who's basically waiting tables,
it looks
that's
like to me,
18, able to
because
bring
it's all
a drink.
on,
It would
it's
not
all on the
allow you to be a bartender
Oh,
at
okay.
18.
well, them guys might have had a machine sitting on the edge of it, that'll break them home.
We're looking to do.
but the thing of it is he's contacted Clearway.
Good question.
Anyway,
When that property right here, so it starts a little bit below that curve.
And so are some of these lots in and some out?
Some of those would be in, some of them would be out.
Okay.
So,
Hey, Jim.
And as far as
How you
FEMA's
doing?
concerned, all
Okay.
floodplain touches a foot of your property, you're in the floodplain.
Yeah, she may not be
And you have
tonight,
to
she'll
have
be
flood
the great
insurance, to have a
grandkids.
mortgage, you have to have.
I think it would be good.
1.5 and
As long as
2.
any of them that are in the floodplain, we do some sort of covenant that they can't put in the
And I guess we
structures.
don't know which ones are which.
I can just.
Can you do it? The bitmap, Jackson
Sandra?
County, GIS.
Did I give you a copy of them 2 estimates that,
Maybe one more.
Tamron give it? Okay, I just got to thinking about it.
18 and 19 are definitely
Yeah.
in
That
it.
letter that,
15, 16, 17, not.
yeah, it's in.
17 probably is. 15 and 16 probably.
Looking for something here.
I don't have a way to overlay the lot and block to the floodplain map.
Well, I just want us to do what's right. If some of them are out, then I want people to be able to have the most efficient use, because ultimately, if they do throw a
Sandra,
building on it,
Did
then
you
it's,
put that,
you know, but,
It was, I was all down there when I was a kid.
huh?
I just seen my name on it, I don't know if she wrote that letter to me or not.
Well, where'd everybody go?
They had to move out in the water.
Uh-huh. Once they had to start swimming to get the mail.
All of them had,
Hey, Will, what does start on around 501 North Street?
I mean, it's a house that the porch is all, it's about falling down anyway, right?
He wants to know what Stark owns next to it.
Oh, next to it?
It's a house next to it,
yeah.
Well, they're gonna tear it down too?
Just the,
No, the one,
yeah.
Just the one on the corner? No doubt it's gonna fall in if they don't tear it down, but
I went in it the other day and,
it's pretty dangerous looking.
yeah, it's a holy mess. Yeah.
that got a basement?
Huh?
Did you pray
before you went in? I did, yeah.
Does it have
Pray
a,
without ceasing.
does it have a basement?
Huh?
Does that house have a basement?
It does.
I seen a cold chute on one side.
Yeah.
I figured it
Rotating
did.
chair.
No, is that some kind
Yeah.
of a,
Arrested for trespassing or something.
Well, I mean, you can always propose anything you want to, Mr. Rock.
Hey, you got one of these?
Change my
Yeah.
framer off.
Honestly, I'm so detached from baseball without regular TV. I don't even know.
I remember on the.
I guess like somebody.
I remember when I was on the school board, Cardinals was in the World Series.
Uh-huh.
Often we'd ask for updates.
Uh-huh.
I'm surprised Mike didn't cancel.
Cancel the meeting, yeah. Jerry, are you here for Ministerial Alliance or something else? Okay, just double check.
Well,
Good,
we
'cause I
just
thought
tried
you
to help them.
maybe you was gonna say, tell me something about the
Sorry.
So we just tried to help on the house tear down. Or are we gonna put it out, have them put it out for old bid?
Well, I think we have to,
Yeah,
because
I figure we can get it done cheaper than they can.
they got an estimate from Edwards for $6,500 to $8,000.
Tear it down and put it in the basement.
Well, I didn't see the estimate, that's just what I was
Not really.
told. That was the rate.
Well, I heard 8,000,
Slept most of the day.
but I don't know. Somebody said
was on the floor too.
he was from like 6,000 to 8,000.
Right. And then we would split that.
This ain't nothing to do in the daytime.
I don't know, I mean, that Gupta guy is
Boy, I stopped drinking, I used to go to all the clubs.
Well, I had another guy
And
every
ask me what it took.
Yes.
Quit drinking, I ain't go no more.
Yes, he is.
Had another guy ask me what it took to get on the list for that, and I said, well,
Something.
you know, and go out there to code enforcement, turn in all your paperwork, and I'm sure they'll call you for an estimate. What time you got here?
Yeah, he owns that 501 North.
Who was you looking for?
Starting to use that as a residence for
I don't know if she's still there or not. Yeah. When the black car there
And that
was.
goes, here's where it always floods all the time. That road gets
Yes.
But
She was driving it.
They just use that house as a
She was
residence
driving
for
it.
employees or something.
Here, I don't know if
He
he
was-
does.
he was riding a motorcycle.
Get much farther than that. They already own a set of lots down there, but who's gonna buy them?
Hey, Mike.
So you better, we have to worry about mowing the
Close call here. Close call, yeah. Don't scoot off the edge.
Set up my room myself.
Oh, who's that?
I'll look over the top of that.
We was playing softball up north one time in Herman Williams. Used to be basketball coach. He played on our team, and Mike Malcolm was sitting on the team. Well, wait, when you see like this, and we're touching the ground. Herman said, "Look at these." How much is that for the barbecue?
I don't know, I haven't heard.
She's fixing that all right. Pay for it.
What the city?
Yeah, putting beer in there.
Huh?
You been by there lately?
I have.
Oh,
You mean,
right there.
Soundboard? Yeah, I have.
Smoke will come out.
All about that.
What do I know about?
4th of July, what was that all about?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a mess is what it was. We just had a bunch of people there at the housing, shooting fireworks, cars,
You know that she's
people were
Somebody said
shooting
she's
out in the
spending
street.
550,000 up there. I can't imagine it.
It was a mess. I
That's
don't know
why
how
she
else to put
always
it. So
come in there.
we're gonna have to do something because it's been kind of year by year. And somebody
Yeah.
going,
Well, I know they won Firecracker Monday, but it was kind of bad.
yeah, well, that's the old
I don't know
school
what it is, it's
fireworks.
expensive, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, is that on?
That was probably you out there shooting the ball.
I haven't shot mine a long time.
Shooting
house.
Next door.
Yeah.
There's a setup fee and then there's.
Right. And then so much, kind of like a t-shirt.
Well, she's a hustler.
I mean, our
They
ordinance says
didn't
you can't
make
do
it
it.
up to the service. I felt bad if I did.
No,
I'm not gonna make it to Del Pierce.
It's at 5 o'clock Friday night.
Friday night.
At the cemetery.
I
which
mean,
is
it's just
fine.
We're buried in there.
like it like
Tar
starts like
Grove.
May the 10th and goes to
Grove.
like
I
August
ordered some
15th.
stuff from,
You
Oh, I
know,
called me last night. The guy had told her that we were just
Yeah.
playing with her, and he said he.
once they run out of bug spray, then they finally quit. Yeah, maybe.
My boy got shot.
I heard what Leslie told me.
Like go Indiana now, I'll go wherever we can.
I walked her, I didn't say.
All right, it is 6 p.m. here on Tuesday, excuse me, July 13th. I call this meeting of the City Council to order. As we all rise, we adjourn this evening, and I'd ask him to lead us in the invocation.
Lord Heavenly Father, we come to you once again today, Lord. We just thank you for the opportunity we have to serve you. Pray that you would be with this council as they make decisions tonight affecting our community. Just bless them, Lord. We pray and thank you for all the things that you provide us each day. Just go with us through this meeting and help us to be seeking you out and ask for your wisdom and your guidance as we go through this meeting. We ask this in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jerry. Clerk Hunziker, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes. Alderman Curry-Witzman. Here. Alderman Campos. Alderman Austin.
Here.
Alderman Brown.
Here.
Alderman Pittman.
Here.
Alderman Irvis.
Here.
Alderman McComb.
Here.
Alderman Bastian.
Here.
Alderman Gladden.
Here.
Mayor Stevens.
Here. All right, we have in your package from Ms. Hughes the minutes from the June 22nd meeting, and I'd entertain any questions or amendments to the minutes at this time. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Come on.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Up next, we have the consideration of accounts payable, receivable, and payroll registers. Entertain any questions on the bills.
I think I got all mine answered this
Okay.
afternoon, if you give me a second, I'm sorry.
Sure.
And then will somebody get my chair up so that I'm not doing that?
Right.
But that's what we agreed to, that.
The only one that I had a question on, I know Darren's not here this evening, we had Brown Electric on there, I don't remember how much it was for. Sandra, do you know, or Tim happen to know in passing what we repaired, which lights? No? Okay. I'm sure it's legit, I just always,
You got Eric. He said he must have known because they.
127, yeah, I assume that it's an industrial park because it has that.
yeah, okay. All right, well, is there a motion to pay the bills?
One-
I think, yeah.
One question.
Sure.
On page 5, the cemetery mowing. Is it a prepayment for him or what?
It says prepayment.
Yes, it is.
Clover mowed last week, didn't it?
Yes, I think that Eric is starting this week.
Are we gonna be paying this guy before he mows?
Sandra, do you want to,
It says
I know you had a communication with him.
So basically what we did was the 30,000 for the rest of the year, we broke it down. There'll be bi-monthly payments to coincide with our council meeting dates. And he requested this prepayment for fuel and equipment and things like that.
Yeah, but he hadn't mowed any of them
No.
yet.
No, he
It does
hasn't.
say prepayment, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah. it just says
Okay,
that.
I just wondered
Yeah.
because over mowed, he didn't need it, he mowed too.
Well, it ought to look as
Eric, I
good as
think
it's
it's
looking.
going
It
to-
looked nice, then.
But Clover's never manicure the grave out there, ever since he had that contract.
Well, and I, sort of questioned whether or not Clover was necessarily owed $8,000 for this last go-around or not. I wouldn't know exactly how to assess what he would be owed. In one sense, I'd like to just pay the bill and go on, so I don't have
Yeah, I'd just like to get rid of it.
have any more worries about it. I've taken enough Tylenol over that deal.
There's something I would like to just call. We put a couple $1,000s into the 98 Dodge at Tim's department. And, I mean, that sucker's got about 300,000 miles on it. I think it's something that we need to kind of watch. Probably 50 to 60% of all of his repairs go into that one in the 2001. So I think it'd be really nice if we, and Gary, I don't want to step on your toes because this is your department actually, but I think it would be nice if we could talk to them and see what they might need in the way of, when we budget next year, to get one do something anyway. We can nickel dime ourselves to death and have a nice down payment of $2,000 every couple months.
It's getting old enough we can put it in the cruise diet.
You want it
That's
next,
right.
You want it
We
next
could.
year, you better order it now.
Right.
That's in your job description now,
Mhm.
Tim. Put that in the cruise line.
I'll put it right next to the link.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll make a motion that we approve accounts available.
Second.
Second.
Do you have another question?
We have a motion from Alderman Bastian. I heard a
Gary
second.
has another question.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
Oh, I thought you said wait.
We have a motion and a second. Regina would like to write it down for him.
It's gonna be a mystery to us.
Yeah.
That's right.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
See if you can fix that.
All right, that takes us into our committee and commission reports. We start first with budget and finance, chaired by Mr. W.J. Pittman, W.J.
Thanks, Mayor. Under old business, we have consideration and approval of audit for the fiscal year 2020. We had presentation in the last meeting. Do we have any questions after? If not, entertain a motion to approve that audit.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, we have presentation of financial statements by Scott Evans, Budget Officer. Scott.
Thank you, David J. I've kind of gotten used to the podium at the high school, with the microphone. I felt like a professor. That was kind of cool.
Right.
So forgive me as I transition. Anyway, the first report I have is the sales tax, and I'm happy to say that, as you can see, our allotments for July was $360,000. So I thought last month was the best we've ever had. Well, we topped it by $400,000. So that.
Whatever you're doing, Scott, you keep doing that.
Well, yeah, I'd love to take credit for that.
Unless it's making errors. And then
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it's not some multi-million-dollar error that they asked for back when I've never seen that happen. Anyway, so I think, through the 7 months, we should easily exceed last year's number. So I didn't have the state income tax number at the time I prepared this. They were a little behind on that voucher, so I'll get that to next time. Well, the next reports are the cash positions for the city. So what I've done is I have two pages. One is the May 31st number. So as of May 31st, the total cash and money markets and CDs is $6,233,000. And for the same time period, at the end of 2020, it was $5,986,000. So we have increased $240,000 or so. And again, don't put too much in that because it's just one day in time. Okay, so, but it does give us a snapshot of where things are. What this does not include, and I'll be doing a new report on a routine basis. If you recall, we, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, we decided to start investing some of the investment proceeds of the city in municipal bonds. So we have that in a brokerage account that's kind of a sub-account of where the CDs are. But since those are kind of a different nature than CDs, I'm gonna report those differently. And so probably the next time we have a meeting, I'll be reporting those too. But there's about $500,000 in municipal bonds too. And of course, they're all double or triple A rated agencies throughout the country. Not Illinois, as we spoke of. So anyway, so that's where our cash position is now, a little over $6 million. And so for the halfway point of the year, in the general fund, we have spent $2,694,000 in expenditures, and in the same period we budgeted $2,767,000. So we're still under budget, although it's not as much of a cushion as we had before, because as you'll see in the report coming up, we had 3 payrolls, so that always kind of throws things temporarily into a little bit of an anomaly, if you will. But so anyway, through 6 months, we're $73,000 below budget and spending. On the other side, due in large part to the sales tax numbers and good income tax numbers, we brought in $3,363,000, which that also does include that local cures grant. That $300,000, that's that local cures grant, which we never knew was coming at budget time last year. So that's basically a large chunk of that. But either way, we have exceeded budget by $588,000. And so we continue to have a nice surplus in general fund for the first half of the year. So that's a fine position to be in going into the back half. You don't want to be behind the 8 ball already. So we'll see where that comes out. And one of the components of that, of course, after salaries is the health insurance. So through 5 months, now this is 5 months data versus the previous report was 6 months. But through the 5 months, we have spent basically $213,000 in the general fund on total health care, and about $48,000 in water sewer. So if you extrapolate those out and say, well, what's the end of the year going to look like? I think unless we have some major increases in October at the new policy year, we should be well contained by the budget numbers we have. So we continue to be happy with, I think, how the HRA portion of is helping us to control costs. That is continuing to be not as bad as what I feared originally. So I'm glad we're doing this, and we're having these good experience there. So essentially, through the 5 months, we've spent $3,833 per employee. Even if you extrapolate that for a whole year, I still think we look, a lot less cost per employee in Washington County.
By far.
So, maybe they've turned their shit around on that issue. Doesn't matter, I guess, but I like where we're at relative to them, we'll put it that way. So, and then the last report is the salaries. Of course, and that's a major portion. So you'll see, if you go to the last page, so we've spent actually $391,000 in salaries citywide, and this brings in water sewer, of course, on this report. That did exceed budget by $90,000, but again, you had an extra payroll in there, and that's pretty close to what an extra payroll would be. But that being said, our actual salaries through June have exceeded budget. Again, partly because of that month. So we should see that swing back to a better number, I suspect, when we do July numbers in a month.
We also had a couple contracts that this year, so in thinking about that, that's not very much difference, really.
Well, and we did.
I know that we tried to.
We tried to pad that as much
Yeah,
as we could, I think, in anticipation of that. So that was
good job of that, really. Yeah.
But now, going back to that report that showed the general fund expenses versus budget, page 4, I think it is. There's really nobody, no department is really, grossly over budget, except for that Darren Mills, he's not here.
We'll talk about it tonight.
Right, no, again, that's not his fault. That, if you remember, the cost that we approved to pay for the oil and chip and various things for Venture Lane were charged to Darren's department, just simply because we kind of did that for the buildup of Venture Lane, for lack of a better place to put it. And so it makes his numbers look a little screwy, but you take that out of the mix, and the things that he has control over just fine. So I wanted to explain that in case anybody was saying, why is that $32,000 over budget in that department? And so that's all I have. Any questions on any of those or anything?
Scott, on, I guess, page 2, the vendor claims account, it's, I guess, -133.
Sometimes that happens. And again, keep in mind that I take these balances from our bank reconciliations, the ledger, that type of thing. So if they have a check on before the end of the month, on the book, it's going to show as a negative amount, even though the bank hasn't cleared all those checks yet. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's overdrawn. It just means that, temporarily, and the payroll clearing and the vendor claims are accounts that you'll see that from time to time because they're what's called an impressed account. They're basically just a clearing account for money to go through. So it's and sometimes temporarily maybe the transfer of money from one of the other funds hasn't made it in there, on the last day of the month. But it might be on the first day of the month. So by the time the check's clear, it's going to be fine. So that's what that all is about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Next item under new business is considering proposing a municipal cannabis retailers occupation tax. So talked about this a little last meeting. We are able to put maximum up to 3%, correct, Richard? I think everybody was okay with that. Richard, is there anything you want to tell us about this ordinance other than we have to decide the rate and then it would be good to go?
3%, the draft of the ordinance in the package provides for the 3%. That's the maximum that's allowed. If it's going to be something lesser than that, it needs to be done by increments of 1/4%. It's a tax that's collected through the Illinois Department of Revenue. If you've read through it, you see that it becomes effective January 1st, 2022. And with a sales tax that they're collecting, it either goes into effect either July 1st of the year or January 1st of the year. So, and it has to be delivered to them a 3-month period prior, which is the October 1st of 2021, which you'll also see in there. So that's the earliest it can become effective. But it's set at, the way it's drafted, it's set at the maximum of 3%.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the ordinance?
Move approval of the check.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Right. Next item is consideration of declaring the fire department 2002 GMC Yukon as surplus. Is that the vehicle we replaced?
Yeah, we will pick up the replacement vehicle tomorrow when the checks are cut from Carbondale Township, and therefore we need to declare that surplus so I can have the equipment removed and prepared for sale.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, consideration of demolition of 501 North Street with START. We do have a letter from START in our packets. They were donated this property by the owner who had purchased it through tax. I guess they're wanting us to split the cost of that, Will?
They are, and I think it'd be good for Richard Blake to just bring us up to date the status of that property in relationship to the city and the legal aspects of it.
This is one where we already have filed a complaint for demolition of that, or for order authorizing demolition of that property through the court. The owner, Vinod Gupta, he bought it through Jackson County trustees' sale of properties. He's letting get delinquent tax, real estate taxes again. There's approximately a $2,700 some odd amount for him to redeem it for taxes if he was going to. He's been served with summons. He contacted me asking if the city would be willing to accept the property if he paid the taxes. He didn't know how much it was. He thought it was more like $1,000 to redeem that. It's actually $2,700 some odd. I passed that information on to the mayor, and then I think after that conversation, then the possibility of start taking this property from Mr. Gupta and doing the demolition with the request to split those demolition costs with the city came up.
And he's willing to pay the $2,700?
And I do not know that.
Okay.
We would have to confirm. I have not had a further conversation with him since my initial conversation to see what direction the city council wanted to go before I spoke with him.
Can he legally give it to somebody if he hasn't paid the taxes?
He could convey it over to them, but then they're gonna take it subject to those delinquent taxes.
Yeah,
They would have
okay.
to pay it.
Gotcha.
So you said earlier when we talked about, you said the estimate for demolition was 6,500 around about, and they've got 8,000. Does that possibly include the taxes on it?
I don't think so. What I understood when talking with Sandra earlier today was that the range that Edwards gave to tear it down was somewhere between $6,500 and $8,000. So there wasn't a firm number on what it would cost. And I, don't know if we want to get bids to tear the thing down, if we're going to be participating in it, or who wants to lead that. START obviously wants to get it down, and I want to help them because they do a good work in the city. On the flip side of that, I don't want to do anything to necessarily let Mr. Gupta off the hook too easy either, because he's just not a responsible actor when it comes to his ownership of these various properties. So I lean toward going forward and helping START and splitting the bill with them. Sandra, how did you come to the knowledge of the range between $6,500 and $8,000?
Brian Davenport would start contacting me, and that's what he indicated.
Okay.
And that was his estimate from Ryan Edwards.
Okay.
Well, he probably wanted to put the high end so that we would be pleased to do it with less than that.
Right.
Well, with that amount, you could probably, if Edwards bid it, get Ellis and maybe somebody else. But on your bid, you need a firm bid. You don't need that 6,500 to 8,000.
Well, the question to me comes in, though, is if START's going to be taking title to it, we want to get the best deal possible, but at the same time...
We can have them turn their bids in to start.
Well, yeah. Sandra?
I think they were just getting estimates of what their potential cost was going to be. I think that they would still want to take bids as well.
Okay.
Speaking for START, kind of out of line, but I think they were just kind of...
Seeing if we had an interest in it.
Right.
I see.
Well, and they may have to do other things to make it safe than just tearing down the house. I mean, from the way this letter reads, maybe that $8,000 also includes, something for safety. I don't know.
I don't know if I follow. They'll have to fill in the basement and
Exactly,
seed and
yeah.
straw it and all that stuff.
But that comes in with
Usually with the
taking
bid.
down.
Well, I guess the question, then the communication maybe should be just to start, we're willing to participate, but we request that they get bids before the demolition is, begun, and they present those to the city for our final approval.
Well, we're trying to save them money too.
Right.
And find out if the taxes are going to be paid.
Yeah.
But shouldn't the place to start is find out about these taxes?
I'm sure START's going to do title work, and they won't
Surely.
get a clean title to it if there's taxes out there anyway. So that'll probably have to be taken care of at a closing between the owner and START
that would
anyway.
be, START's aware,
Whether START
I know
pays
Mr.
those or...
Gupta, in my conversation, when it was the question of if the city would take title, he just wanted a quit claim deed from him to the city.
Right.
Of course he
title
did.
work done. We did have title work done previously.
Here's an $8,000 house to tear down and $2,700 of taxes. Here's a favor.
But Yeah, I know Mr. Gupta is gonna wanna get out of it as cheaply as he can, so it's probably his intention is to just convey it over to Star back with a deed and leave it up to Star to determine what the status of title is and what they have to do to get their title.
Maybe we should make them aware
That
that
would
there
be
are
my
taxes, delinquent taxes
sense from
owed on
speaking with
it.
Mr. Gupta.
All right.
But I'm sure they would want to be aware of that,
Well,
status of the taxes.
John?
well, it seems like, I mean, we would be on the hook for it if Start wasn't involved, eventually, right? I mean, if we got
The
it back.
demolition costs.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
If the
so-
city says, well, you know, we're not gonna help Start, and Start says we're not gonna buy it, then it's gonna fall on the city to
Right.
proceed through the process of getting an order authorizing the demolition.
Yeah, so-
Make the city
But
pay the
just because we
full
have the
cost of
order-
demolition, and then, the city will have a lien against that property for its costs. We can pursue Mr. Gupta enforcement of judgment if we wanted to, then at that point.
And then we have to mow it.
Yes.
Achievement, Brian?
For 20 years.
Just to tell you where we're at on demolition, since I've kind of been filling in for Eric, just leaving. With outstanding invoices that we have for demolitions that have occurred, we'll be down to right at $4,000 in the demolition fund. So if it were $8,000 and we did half, that will take care of our demolition money for the year. That's, we've got $4,000 left.
Okay.
Well, do we want to keep this on the agenda till next meeting then?
Well, I don't know, can we make a motion to participate based upon bids received by Start and then just communicate to them that there are outstanding taxes owed?
I think so.
As long as Start takes over the property, we'll help them with the demolition.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to end up owning it.
Right.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that's the last item under new business. Is there any public comment under budget and finance?
And just so we direct work properly, Sandra, can you contact Start and just, reiterate, or Mr. Blake, can you contact them and reiterate the tax situation?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. I haven't had Davenport or contact.
Okay, thank you.
No public comment.
All right, come out of budget and finance, go to building and grounds, chaired by Mr. John Irvis. John?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business. We have one item of new business. Consideration request for donation of lots at North and Division Streets. Looks like 4 lots. That's about all I know. Gary's sort of filled me in.
Well, I went down there, Eric had asked me to go down there and talk to these people and see about if they would take these lots if we give them to them. And they're willing to do that. They're already taking care of some of them. There's nobody on the lot down. I think they're buying the old church property too. I think they bought it already. But there's 4 lots there, and it's 15, 16, 17, and 18. And there's nobody gonna buy them or build on them, so at least we'll be rid of them and won't have to go down there and clean up. Because they have cleaned a lot up, and they have been, they think they already own some of them, and I said, no, you don't, and, but they're willing to take them if we're willing to give them to them. They satisfied with a quick claim deed. I told them Sandra could give them a quick claim deed to the property, and they would have possession of it.
Brian, I know you expressed some concerns.
Yeah, my concern is at least a couple of those lots are in the floodplain, and we work pretty hard to try to eliminate all the structures that are built in the floodplain due to the river coming up and flooding those. So if we would pass them on to a new owner, I would ask that the ones that are in the floodplain, we would put some sort of covenant or something on them that those cannot have structures built on them or trailers moved in, so that we don't get into a situation where we've got structures there that we're having to sandbag and evacuate people from again.
That would be lot 17 and 18.
17 and 18, I believe.
That you're talking about.
Yeah.
In which Sandra could write up something on that, you know, and nothing can be built on them. Or, Richard, somebody.
Procedurally, what needs to be done to do this when we revamped our ordinances for the sale or other disposition of city-owned real estate, is there needs to be an ordinance declaring it surplus real estate, finding that it burdensome for the city to keep that real estate because of the city's obligation there to maintain it, and finding that the costs of selling it through any of the other procedures by statute, which we have to do the publications, advertise for bids, and take bids, that, you know, the cost of that property, what you get out of it would be far exceeded by all of those costs that you're going through. So that's procedurally the proper way to do it.
But they do own the adjacent property too, I mean,
Right,
you
so
know.
yeah, that could be approved, and then we could put in that, in the ordinance doing so, and then the deed doing that. As Brian suggested, that those floodplain lots could not have structures. Would it be a permanent structure, or residential structure, or manufactured home?
Yeah, we'd want to do something to include manufactured homes as well.
Would it need to be residential structure, or structures just period?
I would say probably structures, period.
No structures or manufactured homes? Okay.
What is the risk to the city if we didn't follow that procedure and we did quit claim deed the property to those people? What is our real risk?
Somebody challenging the city
Trouble.
that they went beyond the city's authority and not following the proper procedure.
Yeah, it's just a time.
Its own city code.
Well, I know in the past, we've come across to the point where we're having to publish these.
Well, we would not have to do that under this procedure.
Okay.
It's a simple ordinance, we've done it before.
Okay, so this wouldn't require us to publish a
No, not at all.
mile-long
No, not
property
at all.
description in the paper and.
Right.
Okay.
Back in, I think it was 2019, maybe.
We amended some of that.
We went through that when we put in effect the motor-own type program, which I don't think we've ever done anything with. We put in those further procedures to simplify, using home rule power of the city to simplify the procedures from the more rigid procedures set by.
I remember that now.
By statute.
Okay.
So it's a simple ordinance that, you know, we've done it before. It's a matter of just changing out the legal description of what's being dealt with, and, you know, the same which we've done anyway.
Okay.
Well,
May I ask a question?
Ms.
I would-
Hughes?
What's, kind of shows my ignorance, I guess, but what's the difference in this and when we vacate something we own, like an alleyway or a strip that we've just been taking care of for years? What's the difference in these?
You know, there's a specific procedure if it's an alley or.
Okay,
what has to be
because
followed.
it is a lot per se, it's a different procedure than
It's a different
vacating an
procedure.
alleyway?
Yes, it's a
Okay.
different procedure. It's neither are that difficult to do.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just didn't know why there was a differentiation, and who knows? Okay, thank you.
we'll make a motion that we donate these lots to these people when Richard gets the paperwork done or whatever we need to do so they can have them. And I know they're already maintaining a couple of them, mowed them and cleaned them up. I just make a motion to donate them to them.
Is that with the?
With,
Sure.
yeah.
We'll have
Two lots, 17, 18 with no structures
I'll
on them.
second Alderman's.
All right, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
I guess one follow-up question, I guess, for somebody getting their names.
I was gonna say, who is it that we're,
Yeah, I've got paper in the truck,
Is
I
that
think.
it says City of Murphysboro, 17 and 18.
Okay.
I don't know who they are or not. I think it's on the bottom of this sheet.
The bottom two, yeah.
Okay.
Gary, are there any structures at all on any of those now?
No, they told us the church was the last structure down there, and it's been demolished, and they're buying that lot too, or I think they've already bought it.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any public comment? Building and grounds? Hearing none, we can move on.
Thank you, John. That takes the community relations chair to Mr. Mike Austin. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations on your Paul Simon Institute participation today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I did. Thank you.
There is no old business, and under new business, we've talked a couple meetings about consideration to purchase a commemorative challenge coin for the barbecue cook-off, and I believe you have the coin this time. If everybody wants to take, if everybody would like to take a look at it, this coin was actually produced for the 100th football game between Carbondale and Murphysboro, and what I would like for the council to consider is doing the same one for the barbecue cook-off for Mr. Mills with the city logo on one side, and then perhaps Mike's face on the other side with a statement saying the legend or thank you or something like that. And I'd like for the council to consider that.
What's the price on that one?
For 100 of them, they're $4.50, and then there's a $40 setup fee, so that would bring it to $490.
I'd make that motion.
But what I would ask, Gary, is 100 all that we need to purchase?
We're gonna do these for the teams, right?
Correct.
And then, was your thought process to maybe make some available, 50 maybe extra to the public that wanted to purchase them or something, or?
Right, with the proceeds going someplace other than to the city.
Sure.
I'm sure there will be some interest from others.
I'd like to donate to that.
Okay. I appreciate that. Well, I don't have any problem approving an additional 50. I don't know what's that bring the,
You think 50's enough? We usually have, what, 70 or so teams, and you're going to give them one for their chief cook, I'm assuming, or their chief
And I would
chef.
say, I would think that probably all of those coins would be gone that weekend.
I would think so, too. Do you think 50 extra is enough?
You think we need to do, you talking about 50 coins or 100 coins?
100 and then
50 extra.
Purchasing
150?
50 additional.
Yeah, I'll still make that motion.
Okay.
What is their next cutoff?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
400.
After you do 100, then you go
After you do
over.
100.
Go up to 100.
No, it's 100 is the bottom price. Yeah. So if you,
That's the
whether it's
smallest.
300 or 100, it's,
It's the same.
yeah,
I didn't know if there was a break for
Yeah.
100.
yeah. No, yeah, I think it starts at 25 and then 50 and then 100.
I'll second Gary's motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for 150 coins, is that correct?
Yep.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and thank you, council. That will be a nice piece. Under new business for the second is a consideration to modify to the liquor code for the servers under the Class E license. And the Class E license is a non-for-profit license, and here tonight is Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Martin, and I believe Mr. Martin wants to address the council.
Yeah, we have a Class E license. I think we may be the only ones in the city. When the ordinance was written, it had an exclusion for the other ones where they could hire 18 and below, 18 and above. And we can't do that currently under the ordinance. We're 21, that's it. Like everyone else in this, everywhere, trying to get back to staff, hire workers. We got a group there that we don't have access to that we could get just to serve tables. But by the ordinance, we can't do that legally. So we're not. But we'd like to be able to do it legally so we can access that full court, so we can get back to full staff.
So what you're requesting is to modify the liquor law to where an 18-year-old can take an alcoholic beverage to a table.
To a table.
Yeah.
Not serve, not make it, but just serve.
To just deliver it.
The table that their table is, which I don't know why it was excluded before when the ordinance was written. Maybe it didn't exist, I don't know. It's possible there wasn't a Class E license at the time. So we're just asking to be able to access the same pool of workers that.
Is that ordinance, am I understanding that that ordinance is just like that, just for nonprofits?
No.
No,
Class E
okay.
licenses. which is what
Class E
we
is for
have.
nonprofit.
Right.
Okay,
And everyone else has the access to them and can.
but they have
do
the
currently
access
do
to
that.
the 18-year-olds and younger. The only one,
18 and
above, I mean, not younger.
Yeah.
I went the wrong direction. But,
No, I-
but the nonprofits do not have that at all in there. But we do have it in our regular ordinance for other liquor
There's-
licenses.
Right, there's the exception for the other license to be able
Okay.
to access.
What the current provision provides, which is in your packet, it allows an exception for the AR and DR liquor licenses.
Yeah.
Those are restaurants.
Yes.
So that's the difference.
Anything
To
that
be a
has a R on
restaurant
it.
and have one of those licenses, that type of licensee has to have 51% of its sales from restaurant sales. So I'm sure when you're not for profits, they wouldn't fall under that restaurant license,
Yeah.
even though they're operating a restaurant. So it would be allowing a Class E, which are not for profits, to also have that similar ability as a restaurant for somebody who, presently under 21, you cannot serve alcohol as written. That provision for a restaurant would allow someone 18 or older to serve a drink to a table as long as that 18-year-old would be under the supervision of another employee who is 21 years old.
Doesn't mean they pour the liquor, it only means they
They
take it from
deliver
the
it.
Yeah, those are-
bar to the table.
Right,
Yes.
they take it from the bar.
And restaurants can do that now.
Restaurants can do that now.
Okay.
It would be putting the Class E license on the same level as far as that provision as a restaurant.
Just put us on the same playing field as everyone else. We can access that workers' pool that's out there that we don't have access to.
Is there any other questions? No?
Alderman Nelson, I would like to make a motion that we modify the liquor code for servers under the Class E license to 18 and older, above, however it's. Richard?
Yes, it would be.
Okay. For the non-for-profit.
Section 21-3-21B to include the Class E liquor license.
I'll second it. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any public comments?
Just like to thank you
Yes.
all for your service and your support.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry.
See you, Jim.
With no other public comments, Mayor, we'll move out of community relations.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. That takes us to public improvement, chaired by Mr. Mike Bastian. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I got lucky tonight again. There is no old business. There is no new business. Do we have any public comment or any comment from the alderman? With that being said, Mayor, we can move into public works, chaired by Gary McCombs.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Public Works. Gary,
Okay.
take it away.
Under old business, it's discussions regarding the alley behind 17th Street, the sauce factory. Have, we figured out anything on the water up there?
Mr. Scheffer, I know that you've been in contact with them, and you've shared with me, I'm not sure if it was shared with the rest of the council at this point, some estimates to help remedy the problem there. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure, we did do some elevations up there, and the biggest problem is that there's a power line from Ameren. This Ameren ran down to the new building that's right in the middle of that alley, so but we essentially came up with three different prices. One, surface drain that alley by doing some grading in there, and just essentially on the other side of that alley, putting a ditch or a swale in, which will help get that water away from the side and take it to the curb on 16th Street. And that, from there, it runs north up to an inlet by gravity. So, but under that scenario, that alley would have to be paved, either oil and chip or asphalt. And so, the cost to do just the surface drainage and then pave it with asphalt was $27,200, and oil and chip was about $14,000. Now, we also put a price on installing 3 inlets and running 12-inch underground pipe all the way up to the inlet on the northeast side of 16th and Pine. And we've will be able, from elevations that Power Company gave us where they bored underneath 16th Street, they're about 6 feet deep there, so I think we can go over that power line at that point. And so essentially we come down the alley with that underground piping, cross 16th Street, and then go north to the inlet on the northeast side, the southeast side, excuse me.
Is there any way to pipe that water across to their lot right behind it? Come under the alley over to Pine? You know, they own that storage building there.
I mean, the natural drainage of that whole alley is back to the down that alley. I mean, if you're there when it's raining, you know, there is a pool of water there, and there's quite a bit of water coming off that new road. And
Well, imagine.
that's part of the problem. But, you know, the next day I went back over there and it all drained out. So, you know, I mean, it is eventually getting away from there. I think the water running into the building is the building, the actual, there's an overhead door on the building north of the sauce factory building.
And I don't think the estimate for the underground additional storm sewer drainage is $46,430, correct?
I'm sorry, 46 what?
$46,430.
We definitely would want a pothole, and that also does include oil and chipping that alley too. I mean, that alley is gonna probably have quite a bit more traffic on it. So, I mean, it probably does need to be paved, either oil and chipped or asphalt.
Yeah, they'll be, imagine they're planning on shipping a lot of that stuff out of there in a fairly good sized truck, ain't they?
Well, that, and I think they're gonna have a drive-up window running. I think that traffic's gonna run north and south. I believe you closed that alley to two-way traffic, I believe.
Yes, we did.
We did.
Well, I guess the next question comes, if we were going to do a $46,000 or $27,000 or $13,000 project, what kind of funds qualify to do such work? Obviously, you know, general fund revenue, but then again, we're going to start dipping in the motor fuel till again here.
Obviously, this would qualify, motor fuel tax would qualify for that.
Okay. Scott, how happy are you?
That is true, but I fear we have so many hands out for motor fuel tax on 7th Street that I have to be worried about that.
Okay. Well, we have been having good reports every month for months and months now about our revenues, and I don't want to be irresponsible about it, but we also have somebody who's basically saved a historic building downtown to some extent, and they put, you know, are going to have I think $1.5 million or something they put into the building. So I am in favor of doing the $46,000 to get it away from there and to do it right, because I think it's worth it because of what they generate for the community. I mean,
Let me ask this, what was the price for the bid with the asphalting the alley
For asphalt,
and doing the ditch down the side?
that was $27,200.
I guess the other question though is, do you feel like what's the best solution here, Harold, in your
I
estimate?
mean, to me, it would be to pipe it away. I mean, pick it up in inlets and pipe it away. There will be 3 inlets, 2 down by the sauce factory and then 1 located where the other buildings are coming east.
Does the $27,000 truly get the water away? Why is it not as good as other than it's?
It'll get, like I said, that area drains. This will just hopefully, I mean, it will get it away faster. I mean, you're gonna
I'm just thinking
get that water
about
out of there faster.
oiling and chipping, you know, if we can get one of our alleys that we can take off of our rotation for oiling and chipping, especially a one that's probably going to be a high traffic one,
I mean,
you know.
Oil and chipping in that alley is like 17.
I know now, but you know, it's then forever on our future list of alleys that need to be oil and chipped every few years, you know, especially it's a high traffic one, you know.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of those to add up to what it costs to asphalt at once too, you know, so I don't.
Well, that's the thing, asphalt lasts quite a bit longer too.
Yeah,
You're not going back every 2, 3, 4 years.
I don't know.
You know, that what we did with Future Lane with, Mike was asking this too, with that new asphalt kind of stuff, No.
Future lane
That
meeting.
was a rubber tire
Oh,
stuff,
that was
wasn't it?
rubber tire
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that was a one-time offering from
I
Sarah.
know, but is
also.
that something that they would want to try again, maybe? I mean, I don't have any idea what kind
No,
of
I don't.
cost that would be.
I don't know.
Probably not.
I mean, perhaps, but I doubt it.
I think 20th Street.
Yeah, just as long as it's not the ash stuff on
Yeah.
20th.
Disaster.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that
I called
is,
it
yeah,
his fault.
that's
I
scary
lost.
too, yeah, I agree.
Actually, it's probably better than it was. I mean, I don't.
Oh, yeah.
You think?
Mr. Urbis?
You know, are they still, the mills, are they still gonna do the front building restaurant as far as we know?
The last I spoke to Amy about it, she said that
Yeah.
she didn't want to sort of reveal an opening date, but she did say that it would be before the end of the year.
So they're still planning to do that
Yes.
as well?
And they are actually already running some product on the inside now. Not a substantial amount, but some. And now I don't know who actually has said this to her, but she says that she cannot pass an inspection. I don't know what inspection with the water coming in as it is.
I'd say the health department probably.
And produce the food product there that they want to produce. So, I don't know.
It's hard to prepare food with waiters on.
Right?
It's hard to prepare food with waiters.
Get him some football.
Well, is there a motion on this? Do we want to wait and everybody want to look at these bids a little closer, or? Gary, it's your committee.
Well, it's something that we're gonna have to do something with it. And, you know, it's not something that you're gonna, when we okay it, it's gonna get done maybe that week, or it might be 3 weeks to a month of time, you know. It's better off to do it when it's warm weather if you're gonna blacktop or,
It may take that long to get the pipe.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she'd probably be paying a lot of taxes up there and stuff. I'm sure it's not gonna pay that back real quick, but, to help the water situation around there altogether, if we can get rid of it. If we blacktop and do that stuff, or we just gonna be putting the water on somebody else?
I make a motion that we do the pipe and the oil and chip, which would be the $46,430 estimate.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Russell did.
Wrestled it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. That's all under old business. Under new business, we got a discussion regarding the sidewalk damaged by a clear wave at 223 North 18th Street, and I haven't got by there to look at it. I had a lot of issues the last week, and I just
Gary, I
haven't got by there, but Mr. Gladden did.
Yeah. It is definitely cracked for about 30 feet on the east side of the sidewalk next to the boulevard. So it looks like whenever they did their work there, that ground has softened or whatever, given away, and that has cracked that sidewalk all the way down. Property owner has tried for over 2 years to get Clearwave to do something.
Well,
If I've got a couple of contacts that with Clearwave that I can reach out to, if you'd like me to, with a similar situation with sidewalks in the past. They usually come back and take care of the problem.
Well, if you've got somebody you can contact, you feel comfortable to get something done, I'm fine with that.
yeah, I'd be willing to meet him out there too at any time, Tim, and you could come out there, or Darren one. And
Is this where all of the service vans tend to park and pull up with 2 of their tires up off the street?
This is just west of 18th Street where the construction's going on under the yellow barge.
Okay.
Two-story house on the corner of, I want to say.
Elm and
Yeah, Elm and 18th Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be the southwest corner.
well, let's put this back on the agenda for next meeting.
Sounds good to me.
And the other, I went out on Future Lane and I don't know if anybody's drove that in a while, but Cameron is having, I think the trucks that are dumping the dirt up at 17th Street in both projects get their dirt out from Dave, and then they bring it in. They come in there and they go in the plant and weigh it, then they come back out, and they have destroyed that road out there. The concrete is what they're talking about fixing, and I had Darren meet me out there one day, and I told Darren that I don't think the water is getting away from the road well enough in those spots. And being that road was built probably 20 years ago, it probably never had a good base put down. It was never made for what it's going through now. But it really needs, where they turn off coming in, when they get to the county garage and they cut back, they swing wide. They've got that road all broke down, but then when you get up to where they're gonna go into the plant, there's no road there anymore. I mean, it's bad.
Been bad for a while.
I went out and met with them, and they gave me an estimate on what it cost with asphalt or concrete. And the difference is a couple $100 between concrete and asphalt. Harold?
Gary, I was talking to Mitch Bird last week. He had mentioned something about possibly giving the city a price to do a repair on that too. I know the county takes care of enterprise lane because that's basically all their traffic on there. But now Samron, I guess that's the route they're taking to go from their plant.
Well, when they probably start on 7th Street, there's gonna be that much more traffic on it.
Well, I mean, at some point, that's what, I don't know, until 7th Street's done, I mean, are we still gonna have this problem? I mean, this will fix that problem, but I mean, I don't know exactly what the county was offering to do, but they were willing to, provide their labor and the city provide materials.
I do have a little bit of issue with, Samron's business is the one that has the trucks coming on there that are doing most of the damage, and we're just gonna let them give us the only bid to do the work to fix it,
Well,
you know what I mean?
No, I went with them because they were right there and they offered to meet me down there to give me a price of what it cost. I don't want these to get out because it's above our $20,000 range.
I don't think they would price, I'm not saying that I think.
Well,
that
I
they
mean, we ought to probably put it out for bid and, maybe get another contractor or two to come in, like Simon and somebody else. But Simons might do it for nothing to be out there in that area. But neither here.
Might drop their price.
You're right, there is no base on that section of the road, and it's just been beat completely away.
Yeah, and I'm not for sure that road don't need to be done from where you turn off at the county garage up to where they turn their trucks in at.
Sure.
But you go out, I mean, those trucks have got to stop before they can go through it, because it's just like that. Have you seen it out there?
Oh, yeah, I was out there with Darren.
Yeah,
4 weeks ago.
it's bad. It's not something we got to do right now, because if one of them gets stuck in it, they got equipment out there to pull them out.
Can we see what the county
I
be
drive it
willing
all
to
the
do?
time. It
as
is
far as that?
bad.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not tearing up the road coming in by Dollar General.
Right.
But that old road there, it's, roads, most time you got 3-inch rock or bigger down at the bottom, and you got the water draining away from it. And I'd say that road was probably put in there when it was first put in, just gravel on dirt. But it's something we have to act on tonight. But it's something we need to be aware of that's going on out there. Because the average car, if we get a big rain, I don't know if it can drive across that spot. So when we start on 7th Street, we're gonna have to have something done with that road, because it's gonna get a lot. I noticed those trucks, I don't think, go out to 7th Street. No, they stay off that new road they put in.
Well, is that right? Yeah,
Come down in front of the Dollar.
So they just go down there, by the county garage there on the south side, turn into their lane, they come back out that way and come back out to 127 or cut across through Harrison Road. But it's something that we're gonna have to consider sometime, and do we wanna put a Band-Aid on it and just fix 2 little spots, or do we wanna come from that road all the way up just past their entrance where the big trucks are coming in and out? And that would be expensive, but we're gonna have a lot of problems out there with that old road. But Darren has come out there with me first thing we looked at, and on the south side of the road, I think that water comes down to there, and then it runs right across that road to the north side and goes down toward the 13. But it's just something that he drew me up a couple bids on it. Of course, I think what we're gonna do, we do the concrete over the blacktop, because I think concrete would hold better, for a long time.
Well, let's find out what the county's willing to do and then go from there. We can consider it again at our next meeting.
Okay, that's all under new business. Do we have a public comment on Public Works? There none, we can come out, Mayor.
Thank you, Gary. That takes public safety chaired by Russell Brown. Russell?
Okay, on the old business, discussion an issue. 20th Street from Walnut to Spruce, where they got the new gaming business there.
I know we have some folks here with us here, I'm sure, who want to speak to it. We talked about it at our last meeting. There is naturally additional traffic and folks parking in that area because of that business. And Chief Ellermeyer, I think you may want to speak to this a little bit.
Yeah, I had Darren meet me down there and we looked at it. You know, you got the alley there, and you've got small parking areas on both sides of the road that's available. I think as Mr. Bastian said, one thing that was the problem were cars parking close to the intersection of 20th and Spruce right there. After looking at it, I think me and Darren both believe that we could probably do some no parking signs from here to corner to eliminate that instead of eliminating parking on one side of the street. That way in front of his business, he'd have room for a couple cars to park right there, and then we'd have a good 20, 25-foot area plus down to that intersection on his side. Same way with the other side, where we were standing there was a lady that went in the chiropractic business, and she parked on the opposite side of the road, but almost halfway down to the stop sign instead of using the empty parking lot in front of the building. Walked a lot farther.
In the rain, huh?
That would help not eliminate those spots on both sides of the road, but we could keep the traffic, vehicle flow from the traffic intersection there.
I think that's a good starting point, and we already have an ordinance in place from so many feet from the. So.
About that intersection too, is a four-way stop if everybody stops, so you're not pulling out. You can see all 4 stop signs setting anywhere. It keeps you from, as long as everybody makes that stop sign, I mean. Come to the.
So I think that kind of sums up what we were looking to do. If that's what you guys want to do with it, Darren and I can get back together and figure out exactly.
It's something that could be changed. Wasn't working. I mean, that's a good place to start, it seems like, don't you think?
Oh, I agree.
That way, we're not completely eliminating parking for his business, but yet we're keeping that intersection a lot safer. And if it doesn't work, we can always, we can go to no parking if we have to, but, I would not like to do that. Yeah, I hope.
Just like, I met with Chief Elmeyer and Darren that day, and it's like, we were just looking like he was saying, if we can just come, we're 10, 15 foot off of that corner, no parking, then I'm totally fine with that. I was just, not trying to lose everything that we had.
Right, because there's a.
Because 90% of the time, it might have been just a random event that somebody was parked way down there. And it might not have been even, my people, it could have been somebody that lives in that house. But it's still, I understand the problem if somebody couldn't see because there was a car parked there. So I'm totally okay with you know, what he had mentioned, you know, just so far from that curve, no parking.
All right.
We want to try that and see if that works.
Yeah, I think that's not a problem that Mike brought.
Yeah, I think it would too. I mean, I don't want to take his parking away, you know, just, I think we should start with that and then kind of
Yeah,
evaluate
I
it.
don't have any cars out there, because you know, it's all foot traffic, but then I might
Yeah.
have 2 or 3 out there,
Right,
you know.
right, right.
It's just depends on the night. I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna say that it wouldn't be full at one point, but let's put the sign, I'm all for that.
All right.
All in favor?
Did we have a motion and all that?
Well, we don't need a motion if it's an ordinance
I'm
in
sorry.
place, do we?
Okay.
Can't we just direct it? Yeah, I don't
Just
think.
put up the
No, we
signs.
have to.
Yeah.
All right, well, let the minutes show that Mr. Bills be directed to put up the signs as they discussed.
And we're all,
I'm sorry.
and we're all in favor.
And we're all in favor.
No, another thing, on the new business is discussion regarding 4th of July issue.
I guess I can pick this up. When I went to the 4th of July fireworks at Riverside Park, I got down there a little bit later than usual this year, probably about 8:20, and observed a lot of spent firework casings in the middle of the street between the housing, property owned by Jackson County Housing Authority and the bocce courts, and then saw one of the large aerial bomb fireworks go off in the middle of the street and go up and explode. And so I made a left and went in the back of the park and parked. Well, apparently after the fireworks were over, there was a large group of people there who were shooting fireworks at cars, and I actually didn't see the video. Apparently there was a video of some of it. So Chief, you may know a little bit more and be able to describe the situation that unfolded better than I did, but that's sort of a jumping off point for what discussion we need to have tonight.
Yeah, I think, first of all, you know, you guys realize we have the ordinance that allows them to basically possess and shoot off fireworks from 8 o'clock in the morning on the 4th of July until 11:30 that night. Richard, I don't know how that falls in line with other communities having something like that against state law, possessing fireworks.
I'm not really aware what our ordinance.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I didn't know it was legal at all at that time.
I didn't think
So,
so.
you know, that's an area that's a give or take. Everybody wants to be able to let, you know, their community have a good time on the 4th of July. And I think the way most cities run it is, you know, they don't have an ordinance or anything. They just allow it. And, you know, when people call the police department, you know, we go by the noise time. Yeah, at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, when we start shutting down, just hang in there. But since that ordinance is here, it's kind of made it like, okay, well, now it's here, well, let's take a few more steps further, and we're gonna go out in the middle of the streets and shoot them off all night long, whatever we want to do, for 3 or 4 days. We had a lot of calls that come in to dispatch from people, hey, are we still gotta put up with this? How much longer is this gonna last? You know, I went back through and listened to some of the phone calls. So that kind of grows the problem of where we're at now. You know, so what has happened is the people that live down there have a get-together like people do, and you have 50, 75, 100 people show up, and then we've got however many hundreds of people showing up, going into the park, trying to get out of the park, and they're utilizing the road to shoot these off, and you only have, you know, 3, 4 people working, and they can be completely overrun with an issue down there. And the guys felt like there was a challenge, that they did want to see how far it can be pushed in video and do what people are doing nowadays in this country. We've had kind of an issue, and I think our guys handled it very well for the staff that we had on duty to disperse and get everything taken care of. But the question is where are we going to go from here for next year?
Right.
Because the mayor and I met with the housing authority Monday morning, and I'll let him speak on that. I think it's an issue of, you know, we definitely are going to have to figure something out next year, or we're going to have enough personnel on it, or we're going to control that street down there and not have that problem.
So, yeah, we did meet with the Housing Authority Director and some of the other Housing Authority leadership yesterday morning at 9 a.m. They all said that they were going to put out letters to, you know, all their communities saying that, look, this is not going to be allowed to go on in or around our communities. I found it interesting that she said that they had 300 residents that they were waiting to evict, but could not because of coronavirus issues that are still in play, and that some of the folks that may have been involved in that were folks that they were hoping to evict for other reasons anyway. So I just got a lot of feedback from the community about this the other night, and I didn't want it to go by without talking about it because it's a real public safety issue. We've got a year between now and then to look at it, see what housing does, see if we need to amend our ordinance, but I don't really have anything else to say about it at this point, and I'd be happy to hear anybody else's feedback on it. Or Gary?
Is there, we could pass an ordinance too, if it's not in effect, where there's no fireworks of any kind to be set off on city property. That would cover your streets, your sidewalk. You know, they don't cover the parks because they're not our jurisdiction.
Right.
But it would cover the streets, which I got a couple of calls over what went on down there, and I got calls about people shooting them off at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I came across your phone call.
Yeah, and you know, it's and everybody wants the kids to enjoy the fireworks.
Right.
But most of these idiots out in the middle of the street aren't kids. They're adults. And they don't need to be in the street shooting fireworks off or on a sidewalk or on any of the city's property, because I think if we don't stop that, it puts us liable if something does happen.
Yeah, I met with one couple in the community, went to their house and met with them and pointed out how they had their 4 or 5-year-old grandchildren with them, and they're trying to get out and they're shooting fireworks off just feet away from the kids and swinging the F word around and just a lot of negativity down there, and we want that to be a spotlight of good things for people to come here and see. And I think we just, like the mayor said, we got a year to make sure we're prepared to do what we have to do one way or another next year.
That's probably the only place we had the problem we had. I know I drove around town and they'd shoot the fireworks off out in the street, but half the time when the people shoot them off in the street, that's where they're at the next morning too. They don't pick them up. You know.
What would your suggestion be, Chief? Would it just be extra personnel, maybe more auxiliary on that night?
If I got 4 people on or 12 people on, that doesn't matter.
Right.
If you got 30 or 40 here with state police in Jackson County and our department, then we'll control the situation. But hopefully that's not what we have to do. Hopefully we can figure out where we're at with the ordinance and maybe have Richard look and see what other communities do with that and amend that, as the mayor said. Housing made it clear that they have no policy for shooting off fireworks on housing property. So they're already ready to say that, you know, put their letters out like the mayor said that this is going to be happening.
Maybe that's why they went in the streets. They couldn't do it on the property.
Right.
Fire truck down there just wet
them
the
down.
street and everybody else down.
That's what Chief and I talked about, you know. I was like, well, we hit the dry bags over here first, that way they can't grab them and run, and you go shoot them off somewhere else. But
I mean, I had a couple of calls that your officers were really outnumbered down there, and they handled the situation without it escalating into a big problem.
yeah, I believe that's how it was.
Couldn't you just, like, well, ordinances, there is no walkthrough anyway, but what about just like an hour to hour down there? No fireworks between 6 and, what time does the show get over? You know, that would be your ordinance, between 6 and 9, and that'd be your ordinance, that you give you a window.
I think we need to review our ordinance and take a real hard look at it and make some serious changes to it. I don't know that I was aware that was, you could just do that.
And it starts at 8 o'clock.
State of
in the morning.
Illinois.
So
Nobody loves the 4th of July like Murphysboro.
So Richard, our ordinance supersedes the state law?
You can't buy it here, but you can shoot it here.
They do in.
All right, well, like I said, we've got a year to take a look at this, but Richard, if you could, you know, review some ordinances, and Chief will continue to work toward making sure that we don't have this issue again next year.
I'm glad you brought it up, because it is a serious issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Public comment. If not, come out and hold the personnel.
Thank you, Russell. That takes us to personnel, chaired by Ms. Barbara Hughes.
Thank you, Mayor. I lucked out like Mike did. There's no old business, no new business, public comment on personnel, unless someone, a personnel person has anything. I think we can come out of that.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. I don't have anything under the mayor's report. I did have somebody drop off a flyer today for the Old School Gospel Jamboree, which is going to be at Riverside Park in Murphysboro on August the 14th at 3 p.m. That's a Saturday. Yolanda Harrington is coordinating this, and she asked that I share it with the council. I posted it on my Facebook page this afternoon. It's going to be a free event. They'll be taking donations, so it's always good to see the park being utilized, and I appreciate these folks putting this together. So that's all I have to share there. I'll go to a council member request for Ms. Hughes. Ms. Curry-Witzman.
I don't have anything, thank you.
All right, Mr. Austin.
The movie night at Longfellow Park, July 23rd, 8:30. And then also I would like to just acknowledge Mayor Williams on his passing, and then also Mr. Shields as well, two city employees that put in many hours and many time to make this city what it is.
Absolutely, I appreciate you mentioning that. Mr. Brown?
Nothing.
Mr. Pittman?
I just want to congratulate, we talked about some of the team sports with the high school a lot, and wrestling team had a late season this year, and they had several individuals go to the state tournament, I believe, including, was Tim Darren's son there at the state wrestling tournament, I believe. And we had the state, so just congratulate the wrestling team, Coach Baker.
Very good. Clerk on Ziker? Purvis? Mr. McCollum?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. We're gonna have to fix some stuff at the sewer plant, and make everybody aware of that. We got some aerators that busted off in the bottom, and those are, to replace all of them, is gonna be between $14,000 and $17,000. That tank has probably got a foot to 20 inches of sand in the bottom. It's gonna cost another $3,500 to $6,500 to get all the sand out of there. But we are gonna have to start a maintenance program down there, where we have to check these tanks, drain them down and check them every so often. Would have saved us what we're into now. As soon as we get this tank up and running, they're supposed to be down there Thursday and Friday to get the sand out of it. The only way you can get it out of there is with a concrete bucket and a cherry picker and a little walk-behind bobcat put into that and dump it in a truck. We have to store it on site where the other stuff is. But when we get that tank up and running, we're going to have to do the tank behind it. And these are the secondary tanks. This stuff is coming into the big tanks. And that's what we talked about a long time ago. This new plant will not handle these sewer line breakages we're getting. You had two down at 17th Street, and if that didn't cause a problem, when we may have to pull some manhole lids. I'm looking some manholes from the plant up to the hospital, back down through there. And you can't do it when the river's up. And I just want to make everybody aware of that. We are going to start a maintenance program down there of checking this stuff. We haven't done it since the plant opened, and Chester does theirs once a year. And the other one is, probably not everybody's aware of it, but one of our employees sure had OSHA upset. And those are people we don't want upset at us. And once the guy got the numbers and got a hold of the people, the guy was happy, but he just, flat words what he said was, the guy I talked to was an asshole. And that's putting it frank, that's his word. And it was down on 17th Street where those guys crushed the line and we replaced it. everything was fine. They used the box and they banked the wall, which they have to do, so everything was right. Our employee just didn't want to give him the phone number, so we need to maybe address some of the employees when OSHA calls. Give them the numbers they want, because 99% of the time when they call, we're right anyway. But you don't want to get on the bad side of them or the EPA. We just need to maybe address some of our employees to that, because you don't want them mad at you. They can fine you if you're not even in line for a fine. That's, I know that's all I have. Well, I forgot to bring the public works, but I want everybody to know what we're running.
Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate that. Mr. Bastian.
I have nothing this evening, Mayor.
Mr. Gladden.
A question on the status of the sewer line problems out at the motel, and has that all gotten straightened out, and has Joe reimbursed us for those costs?
No, I know that Joe is going to be in town for a Jackson Growth Alliance meeting, I think next week, and I told him that we should meet down there. He said that he realizes he needs to get that slope stabilized. It's my opinion that the city doesn't need to be reimbursed for the funds, because the fact of the matter, from my view, is that the project's going to generate much more money for the city over the life of the project than the $60,000 we were ultimately out to replace the sewer line that collapsed there. And to get into a legal battle to try to collect it, I think would be probably an expensive endeavor. Some folks disagree with me and my perspective on that, but that's just my...
We probably should have went after Rawson in the first place and his insurance.
Probably.
Rather than that guy, Rawson was at fault. And who knows if it comes down to that spot again where we're getting all of our sand and stuff into the sewer plant, we're going to be down there working on it again. I don't know if that's where it's at, but...
Well, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of vegetation on that slope that's grown up now, which naturally is going to help keep that slope intact, much more so than whenever it was fresh dirt. And I've had, our engineering department take a look at that and the amount of soil that it's going to take in order to get that slope back to where it needs to be, and that's been shared with Joe. So,
has he mentioned anything about the sidewalk money he was going to pay?
Well, what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely wants that to end up at his motel.
Well, I think so. And, to me, the big picture has always been, can we get a $5.5–6 million hotel generating triple the hotel bed tax than we were getting before in town? I see it filled up almost every weekend, and ultimately those folks that are at the barbecue cook-off, and I know it's booked out solid for the Apple Festival, each one of those folks leaves this community with a better impression than they got when they left the Apple Tree Inn 6–7 years ago, where you asked for some soap and they squirted some in your hand up at the front desk and told you to head on back to your room.
Get that. Hope it was soap.
I mean, but
I've never heard it put quite that way.
And that was a story that was told
We
at
want
Mike Mills's.
electricity, we'll run an extension cord out down to the office.
That was Mike. That story was told. Funeral service the other day. Mike had people stay down there, and they came back to him and said, "This is what happened to us when we wanted to take a shower." But anyway, I'm sorry, Mr. Gladden.
Yeah, well, no, that and the sidewalk. So basically, what we're saying is we're just hanging that up.
I mean, the council can feel free to pick it up, put it on the agenda or whatever. That's my perspective on it, is I feel like what we are going to get out of this project ultimately outweighs the costs that we have put out to help track the project, essentially. If at the beginning of it, you could have said, hey, if the city will spend $80,000 to clear out the welcome mat of the community and get a, brand new hotel there, would we be willing to do it? I think the answer probably would have been yes. I don't know, gotta break some eggs to make a cake.
Fine, I just wondered where we were on that.
Sure. No.
Being the newbie that I am.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Definitely. We'll go to department head request, Mr. Blake. Ms. Ripley? Mr. Evans?
Nothing.
Chief McBride?
I'll just put the teaser out that I did on Facebook. The fire department's been working on a little project behind the scenes with St. Francis Care Animal Rescue. We're going to be producing a firefighter calendar for 2022, featuring all of our firefighters and at least one of the police officers posing around the fire department with rescue animals. No bare chests, no thigh hugger shorts, anything like that.
Are we wearing Lance's shorts or?
Well, there's fire hose involved, but not in that. But anyway, I'm getting a lot of good feedback on it. I put a teaser out on our Facebook page, and immediately there was a Jackson County business that ordered 175 calendars.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so, and we haven't even started pre-ordering, but, so it's gonna be a fundraiser for both of us. We'll be splitting the profits from it, for equipment for us, and obviously to further the mission of the rescue out there. So, more to follow on that. Thank you.
There's 12 city council people plus me and Gina, so, 12 months in a year.
Next year.
Oh, shit.
2023.
They would like some sales.
Well, I'll leave it to the fire department then. Chief Ellenmeyer?
Nothing.
All right. Mr. Manwaring?
I have nothing.
Ms. Volley? Mr. Lee?
Darren's absent, so I'll say this for him. A former street department employee, Diddy Bryant, did pass away last week. So I just thought I'd say that.
Absolutely, Denny was a very, very, very good man. Yeah, definitely.
That's all.
Okay. Ms. Bryant? Mr. Sheffer?
Nothing.
All right, is there a motion?
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you, everybody.
Let's go to.
Thank you for your motion on 17th Street.